I think we need to have U.S. aircraft to show that it's NATO. We are united with the U.S. You know, when Mr. Trump say that you should destroy this Russian aircraft. So, okay, Mr. President, let's play the game and send U.S. aircraft. And I'm sure that you will not send U.S. aircraft.
Well, President Donald Trump on Tuesday backed NATO countries shooting down Russian aircraft if they enter airspace. That is significant. It would represent escalated aggression towards Russia. I'm joined now by Dominique Trinquand, who is a former head of the French military mission to the UN and NATO and a former defence advisor to Emmanuel Macron. Good evening to you, Dominique.
Good evening.
Macron, France getting a special mention by Volodymyr Zelensky as one of the few things that is actually helping Ukraine at the moment. France and weapons were given a mention. We've seen multiple incursions into NATO airspace in the past 2 weeks, haven't we? We've seen Polish airspace swarmed with drones. We've seen Russian MiG fighter jets violating Estonian airspace over the Gulf of Finland. We've seen issues in Romania and also questions about Denmark as well, whether their airspace has been infiltrated by Russian drones. So there's no doubt that Volodymyr Zelensky's got a more alert and a more engaged audience if he's talking about the threat of Russia. The issue is, though, should NATO remain defensive and scurry away Russian threats, or should they actively attack them, shoot them down? What do you think?
No, certainly NATO is not at war with Russia. That's why we need to focus on the different way of defending NATO. If you are talking about the drones entering in Poland, for example, you have to destroy these drones. The problem is that NATO is not currently at war, so all the systems are not on alert. So and drones are very difficult to destroy. That's why it's happened like that. On the three fighters, Russian fighter, were coming from St. Petersburg to go to Kaliningrad. It's a bit different, you know. Airspace is defended by NATO, but they are applying rules of engagement, and they are checking what the aircraft are doing. If they are not aggressive against NATO, then you will not destroy them. You will push them out from the NATO airspace, and that's what's happened. But certainly, NATO currently have to take more steps to prepare if Russia wants to try more often to enter the airspace of NATO.
Yeah, I mean, they may continue to make incursions into NATO airspace in other countries or in these countries again. And so what is there to stop them from pushing our buttons, testing the limits of NATO?
They've done that for years. For years, we have seen aircraft just entering and going out from the airspace of NATO. It's a test, certainly. It's probably reconnaissance too, but we are not NATO. When I'm talking, we are talking about NATO. We are not aggressive. We are not at war, and so we just want Russian aircraft to accept what are the rules. What I'm struck by one thing is that all these incidents happen, and the NATO aircraft are only European aircraft. There is no American aircraft. So, you know, if we want to do something else, we want to escalate against Russia, we need to have US with us to escalate. And up to now, there are no US aircraft with us.
Yeah. Is that just simply about optics, Dominique? We need to have the US flying alongside us because it's going to make NATO look, well, it's going to make those, it's going to make the alliance look stronger. It can't just be aircraft from Europe. Is that just optics, yes, or is there an extra level of security or an extra defensive measure that having US aircraft there would bring?
No, I think we need to have US aircraft to show that it's NATO. We are united with the US. You know, when Mr. Trump say that you should destroy this Russian aircraft. So, okay, Mr. President, let's play the game and send US aircraft. And I'm sure that you will not send US aircraft. So
Well, then you're going to
altogether,
be
we
calling
need to
out
have
Donald Trump, aren't
European
you?
and US aircraft.
Yeah, but I mean, if you put that to Donald Trump, he's going to have to show his true colours, and that might be a position that he doesn't want to be put in.
Of course, I mean, the answer he gave was just a question of a journalist, and he replied just like that without knowing really what are the rules of engagement in NATO. So I think it has no sense to do and to say that. So my point is just that we need to have all together US aircraft, European aircraft, and to show to the Russian that we are all together within NATO. And I'm pretty sure that they will be more careful about that.
In Donald Trump's defence, I wonder whether there was some concern, because actually how NATO would respond if Russian jets or drones were in NATO territory, and the conditions upon which they should be shot out of the sky, all of that's kept secret because there's sort of a number of factors that will play into when is the appropriate time too. And a lot of that is never revealed because I suppose it would give Russia a chance to exploit any commonly held knowledge on that. This is also happening in Germany too. There have been sort of multiple occasions where Germany's detected suspicious drone activity over its military bases, but its defence minister said he saw no case for falling hook, line and sinker for President Putin's goading. Said NATO should act soberly, prudently, without alarmism, and yet decisively. That sounds very grown up, but I wonder actually whether it translates when you're dealing with someone like Vladimir Putin.
I think we've got two different points. The first point are the drones. The drones are something new, very difficult to identify and then to destroy. The second thing is the rules of engagement. NATO is accepting, because we are many nations within NATO, NAC is accepting rules of engagement. And in this rule of engagement, you send fighters. If there is no reply on the radio, then identify if there is weapons, if there are weapon systems on the aircraft who are dangerous for the NATO. And thirdly, try to push the aircraft outside from the airspace from NATO. If they are doing that, they are applying NATO rules, and you don't have to destroy them. If they've got an offensive weapon system, and if they are not applying the rules of NATO, then you can think of destroying them, but not before that.
OK, Dominique, look, it's been really interesting to speak to you. Thank you for your counsel on this. Dominique Trinquand, former head of the French military mission to the UN and NATO, a former defence advisor to Emmanuel Macron. Thank you for being with us.